The room felt quiet in a way it never had before. Morning light touched the walls, but nothing moved with it. He woke up later than usual. There was nowhere he needed to be anymore. The kettle sat untouched for days. That morning, he filled it again, slowly, carefully. Steam rose gently into the air. He watched it, as if time had softened. A small plant near the window leaned toward the light. He noticed the dry soil for the first time. Water soaked into the earth. The leaves trembled just a little. He stepped outside. The street was the same, but it felt different somehow. He walked without a plan. Each step felt lighter than the last. Back home, the sunlight stayed longer. The room no longer felt empty. The next morning came quietly again. This time, he was already awake. He began to notice small things again. The sound of a spoon against a cup felt clearer. He opened the window a little wider. Fresh air filled the room without asking permission. The table was still messy from days before. This time, he cleared it, one item at a time. Dust gathered quietly in corners. He wiped it away, slowly, without rushing. At the market, he paused longer than usual. Colors, voices, and movement felt strangely comforting. He chose simple things: fresh vegetables, warm bread. Nothing more. Back home, he cooked for himself. The rhythm of cutting and stirring felt steady. The meal was simple, but he sat down and ate without distraction. Evening arrived softly. The room held a quiet kind of warmth. The next morning came again, and this time it felt like his. The days no longer felt heavy. They moved slowly, but they moved. He began waking before the light, not out of habit, but choice. The kettle no longer waited. It became part of the morning. He started writing things down, small thoughts, simple plans, nothing complicated. Some days were still quiet, but they no longer felt empty. He noticed a neighbor he had never spoken to. A small nod turned into a shared moment. The outside world felt closer now, not overwhelming, just present. He found a place to sit in the afternoons, a bench that held the same sunlight each day. Time passed without rushing, and somehow that was enough. The morning came again, and he stepped into it without hesitation. The days began to hold shape, not perfect, but steady enough. He opened his notebook again. This time, the page did not feel empty. A small idea stayed longer than the others. He decided to follow it, just a little. The mornings became quieter, but clearer. He knew what he wanted to try. He stepped into a small cafe one afternoon, not to escape, but to begin. He sat near the window. The world moved gently around him. He worked slowly. There was no rush, only presence. Some things did not go as planned, but he stayed, and that was enough. The day ended without noise, but something inside him felt fuller. The next morning arrived softly again, and he was already moving forward. The days continued, one after another, not faster, just fuller. His mornings no longer needed effort. They arrived, and he met them naturally. The small work he began started to grow, not loudly, but steadily. He returned to the cafe often. It became part of his quiet rhythm. Sometimes he noticed others like him, sitting, thinking, beginning in their own way. He didn't feel behind anymore. He simply felt where he was. The plant by the window reached higher. He smiled without thinking. Even the quiet days had meaning now. They were no longer empty spaces. The world hadn't changed much, but the way he moved within it had. And one morning as the light returned, he realized he had already begun again.